I think it starts first with understanding and considering what defines your safe space, right? What
Right.
is your safe space? I talked a little while ago about your safe space, and your safe space is not only in your environment and your physical space, but your emotional space. What makes you feel safe? You felt safe, for example, Tara, when your new husband showed up, and although he may have not liked some of the dishes, he still expressed it in a way that did not, that you felt safe to hear that. Because
Mhm.
safe isn't just about how safe does he feel telling you. Safe is it going to trigger that trauma again? So
Right.
that was your safe space. So how do you feel emotionally safe? How do you feel physically safe, not only in your environment, but in your body? I talked about that little small voice in the bowels of your belly. When in watching, I was a little girl when I would see my father beat on my mother, and then later when I would become abused, I knew, when I stood up, for example, on that porch to tell him what he did to me was not right and I wasn't going to let it happen anymore. My body was so tense delivering that news that I was sort of freezing and grounding myself for what was I knew was going to come. So I did not feel safe, right, in my body, even though the punch hadn't come yet. Practicing all day, I did not feel safe because I knew I was preparing to express myself in a way that was going to trigger him, right? So the first step is you have to define what is your safe emotionally, physically, spiritually, right? Mentally, right? What is that
Mhm.
safe? Another way of redefining your safe is setting boundaries, right? And maybe start small. Let's say you're in a new relationship now, you're out of that past relationship, right? Boundaries is all about your safe space again. What you will and will not tolerate. You know,
Exactly.
as a little girl, I grew up. I wrote an article years ago about called Two Faces. And Two Faces was my biological father was actually murdered when I was 5 years old. But I still remember the abuse he infliged on my mother